unity with the L-O-V-E. Love is the solution, so set your love free with the L-O-V-E. Further evolution and blessed unity.
Good morning, self-lovers. Welcome back to the Self-Love Show. I'm your co-host, Dawn Light, and welcome to today's juicy topic. If you're new here, just want to give you a little tidbit, shout out, thank you. And for our viewers that always tune in, we're just so grateful for you. This has been such a gift and a journey, and we celebrate you. We celebrate where you are in your life, and we offer this as an offering of your heart to your heart to expand your relationship with love in every area of your life. And so this was our inspiration to birth the Self-Love Show more than 3 years ago. And here we are, still showing up in the juicy love and celebrating it, right? And so in case you want to know this, we have a YouTube channel. We're on all the platforms. Please go check us out, like, share, subscribe, because we desire to get the message of expanding the awareness of loving in every area of your life to every person available that wants it. And so without further ado, we have a great show today. It's just the two of us, which is so special. We're going to talk all about making self-honoring choices. And so life is filled with challenges, right? And during those moments, it is essential to make self-honoring choices that promote personal growth and well-being. In the show today, we will discuss the meaning of self-honoring choices, how they differ from self-sabotaging ones, and provide a rich conversation framework to help you recognize and address challenging situations positively. Yay! Welcome to the show.
You're so cute. This is, I just want to talk about this idea that everything, like we're seeking happiness, like the pursuit of happiness. And as much as I think that this is a great pursuit, I think that this is a pitfall of humanity in some kind of way, is that like happiness feels good, right?
Of course it does.
Yeah, but the reality of living in happiness all the time is unrealistic and also just not full spectrum, full on living. And I think that we can get into a trap of like, oh, it's all good, or and then I don't know about you, but when I first started on my my spiritual journey, I kind of fell into the trap of it's all good, and bypassing the experience of actually feeling my emotions and really like addressing what was coming up. Because anger was, seen as not spiritual, and sadness and depression was also seen as not spiritual. And honestly, now that I look back, I'm like, there are things we should be mad at. Like personally, like you get to have your anger and you get to have your frustration and your sadness and your depression. And like,
those are really important points. Like you can't gloss over that stuff when it comes forward in your life. Being with it is actually what the medicine is, and it transforms you so deeply. I mean, I see happiness in a whole different take now because of learning really deep tools of how to work on myself. I see going through the gateway of sadness, anger, frustration, the old emotional neglect that was arising recently from experience I recently had, was my 7-year-old asking for more attention, and more love. And I was attuned to it and not pushing it down or away or wronging it or shaming it. I was like, oh, it was an invitation.
yes.
And then it's amazing because it's a portal and an invitation. And when I leaned into it, it was such a gift because there's this deeper level of healing that was available for me. And then guess what's on the other side of it? An immense load of happiness and blessings that come through. So actually addressing our feelings is the gateway to more expansion, more happiness.
Exactly. So it's also, I just want to come back to this one point, is like, if we're always seeking happiness or being in the state of happiness rather than acceptance of what's happening and processing of what's happening, then we start to literally kind of gaslight ourselves.
That's true.
We're like, oh, those feelings aren't,
Aren't
like,
valid, aren't real. Yeah.
yeah, how dare you, And then it's really, really, really difficult to make self-honoring choices here because you're not here. You're not present. You're not present with you and your love. And so sometimes when conflict arises, like maybe it's within internally, or maybe it's externally with your friends or your partners or the teachers or a parent, another parent, yeah, or whatever those things are. So if you're not able to sit with, like, the first step here is to really sit with your feelings and allow them. Like, I'm going to give you a real life example today. I'm really so for some of you who have been following my health journey, I've been going up and down, and there's been a lot of big diagnoses or confusions and questions. And I have to actually process that information that comes up. Like, at one point in this health journey over the last year, I thought I had liver cancer. That was pretty scary. And I had to process the feelings of fear and be in acceptance that that is a potential possibility in this lifetime. Luckily, it's not that. And
yes.
And just this, so now I know I have SIBO, small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. And I got a call this morning that my insurance wants me to do multiple different things before I take the medication that will actually help it. And in the car, I could have been like, well, okay, it's all good, and just like wiped it off. But then I would have stuffed that down, and that would build internal resentment and conflict and create this whole weird thing that I'm not processing the information that's coming in. So instead, I just cried and I cursed and I screamed in the car because I got the call in the car. And I was like, "Roar!" And I was like, okay, now that I got that out, what do I want to do about this?
Yes. Beautiful.
Okay, well, there's 2 or 3 more weeks of this particular experience that I'm having. I felt for the last year, what's 3 more weeks? I'm just like, well, okay. I don't know the lesson here, and I don't know the understanding, but can I just be with my body as I know it to be right now, and not try to need to shift or change the experience that I'm having?
Beautiful.
Just be with it and let it, like, the hope of feeling better overshadows the actual being with and acceptance of what is right now.
Oh my gosh. Does everybody here on the show listening recognize what Trish is actually doing by being with? She's actually moving into acceptance of what is. And this is such a key ingredient to really meeting your reality with deep presence. And then it opens the gateway of the heart to be with all the emotions of what is going on, what unresolved material might be available here for you to heal. It's a rich body of experience God is offering you in every moment of your life, in every predicament, circumstance, relationship. And this is radical acceptance of her reality. And I just want to acknowledge you for that because it's big. You didn't stuff down your emotions. You are presented with a real reality of, like, I could go many ways here. And first I'm going to address my emotions of how I really feel about this. This sucks. And I'm angry. And then you got to move into greater levels of acceptance. Like, okay, it's 3 more weeks. What's 3 more weeks? And in reality, that 3 weeks is going to fly by. And now you have a light at the end of the tunnel, knowing I can soon take the medication that's going to wipe this bacteria out. And that's such a blessing.
See, that's the thing is like, you all have heard, unless you're new here, you haven't heard. My definition of love is the radical acceptance of what is. So when I'm thinking about it, is like self-love is to radically accept me as is. All of the things.
Mm-hmm.
And here, let me just take you through the inner process, because then maybe it'll help you. So it sounds like I get the call and I was like, do not curse. I'm like talking out loud. I was like, do not curse on the phone. This person doesn't need your anger. Because all I was like, all I could hear is like,
good job. That's
and I was,
so powerful.
she goes, what? And I was like, it's okay. It's frustrating. And she's like, I know, I'm so sorry. And I was like, I'm just emotional about it. And she's like, I know, we tried. And I was like, I know. So I hung up the phone and I was like, this is so frustrating. And I let the flame of experience go through my body. Like all of it. I cried, I cursed, I did the thing. And then I took a deep breath and was like, okay, of course you're upset. It's been a long time. And I just validated my own experience here. It's been a long time. This is very frustrating. And I can understand how you feel this way. Like, I know you want to feel better. Like talking to myself as though I were a best friend or a lover or a parent. Like, oh.
So I have something to ask you here.
Okay.
Now that I hear you moving into a greater level of acceptance, try this on. What if I just had 10 to 20% more acceptance of this circumstance, choice presented to me, this reality? What would then happen?
Well, let me finish the process that I was in, and then we can go to
Yes,
the question.
yes.
So then it was like, okay, what is happening now? Okay, I'm scared, validating the feelings. I want to feel good. How can I do that? Well, I already have systems and plans. What's another 3 weeks? There's a lot going on. Okay. And I'm accepting that it might come back again. And then I have a lot of people to talk to if I want it, like, hey, Dawn, or my therapist, or someone to share these things out. And I think that the question that you just asked is also incredibly important. 5 to 10% more. Have you read The 5 Pillars of Self-Esteem?
I have. It's been a while, but yes.
That particular technique is so, like, if you ever want to try on shifting your mindset, the question that Dawn just asked is the kinds of questions that you can really make profound emotional shifts. Because sometimes we get caught up in this shift needs to happen. I need to go vegan. I'm just going to use this as an example. I need to do this. I need to give up these things. And instead of, like, that looks like a big thing, right? When you say, oh, can I just give up 5 to 10% dairy, meat, eggs, and those types of things? Doesn't that seem like doable, right? Or if I can love myself 5 or 10% more, what would that give me?
Right. It just opens up an available space to spirit to give you the next step. Instead of like it being 30 steps away, it's actually just right here and so available for you. And it's not something that's a stretch or scary. It's just so available. This is the next step. But we have to have acceptance of what is and ourself in that experience to even open up the possibility for our creative brain, creative mind to tap into the higher realm of spirit's wisdom that is your inner counselor, that is available to you at every millisecond of your life. But you have to call it forward.
Yes.
You have to be responsible to call it forward, to remember to lean on it and ask for its blessing, ask for its help, ask for its availability, ask to go to a higher level within yourself around what the material is.
An incremental shift.
Mm-hmm.
See, I love that you brought this in because it's
All
so
of it.
powerful. An incremental shift makes all the difference.
Mm-hmm. And
Like,
all in the realm of self-honoring, right? What we're speaking about is actually the actual inner steps to making self-honoring choices. Because how can you make a self-honoring choice if you don't have acceptance of what is? You can't. You're resisting reality, and what you resist persists. We all know this, so it's really important to, first step is always, and their first law of spirit is acceptance. And then you move into, and the second law of spirit is cooperation. After that, then you move into cooperation with spirit around what is God, spirit. I say all the words, right? It all means the same to me. We're all in the heart of God, relating in the heart of God. And I really feel like, the first law of acceptance is the first law of spirit is acceptance. And then you move into the possibility of learning to cooperate with your curriculum. And that is, spirit will give you, okay, your next step is this, take a pause, or you need to go for a walk, or you need to sign that document, whatever it may be. You're going to get the awareness and an aha around it. But in order to activate that aha, acceptance comes first.
Yes. There's a piece around, so I know that this idea of acceptance can be elusive and overwhelming, and like maybe it may seem unreachable, because it's like, oh, how do I accept all these things that I've hated about myself for the last zillion years? And it can be, and all, again, like just going back to what Dawn said, is like, it's just an incremental shift. If I can give myself 5% more compassion today. And what this show, and what this show, and like the self-love show specifically, is all about, is really kind of twisting the dial to give you options, because this is what honesty does. So I'm gonna take it into a relational direction. If I am literally radically, kindly, lovingly honest with Dawn about what's going on in my life, then Dawn gets to choose how she shows up in the world. Now, if I withhold information, which is a manipulation, or if I lie, or if I try to, again, if I try to like contort her reality in some way so she perceives me a certain way, which is like codependency and certain types of people pleasing, aspects of narcissism, aspects of being an empath, like all of these are contortions of reality to get someone to see you the way that you want to be seen, which is a manipulation, right?
And a false narrative, yes.
Yeah. So then if I show up with Dawn and I'm like, all right, this is this is like the full on, I'm coming in a hot mess today on a Thursday morning, June 1st. I'm moving. I got some really interesting information. I'm running late. ... Then she gets to be like, how do I want to show up in what's most self-honoring for me? And if you've got really, really good friends, then they ask you things like, hey, you look like you're real busy and doing that thing that you do. What's the most self-honoring choice you can make right now? Oh yeah, lean back. What is the most self-honoring choice? And to make the distinction about a self-honoring choice, there's an aspect of humanity, being human, that we have to take care of ourselves first. Now, if I am, let's say Dawn broke her foot. Okay, knock on wood.
Canceled.
Let's say something happens and Dawn needs my service, and I am running at thin. And I say yes, because of course I want to love Dawn. And I show up and I'm just a crabby old BO. I'm just, and I'm loving her resentfully, which isn't really love. And she's like, I'm hurt and I need help, or hey, I'm hungry and I just want food, or whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. And I'm like resentfully giving these things to her. the energy of that is neither self-honoring, other-honoring, and it just creates ick. Now, if I say, Dawn, I totally want to show up for you. And I am literally thread thin right now, and I can barely keep it together. And she'd be like, oh, okay, well, maybe I can ask someone else to come and take care of me or make me soup or whatever it might be.
Or we could move our appointment to another day or whatever the option will be. Yes.
Because the self-honoring choice is honesty.
Mhm.
The self-honoring choice is choosing to care for this being before I go out. And then I understand, maybe you can speak a lot to parents, and how that works. How do you make self-honoring choices while being a parent or of an infant, even when you're wiped out, exhausted?
God just gives you the inner strength to get up when that baby is crying and you're freaking like running on empty and you need to change a diaper because the baby needs it, and you pull on this somehow magical extra reserve that you didn't even know you had. That you just move into like love and compassion, and it's not a sense of setting yourself aside to forget yourself, but you recognize that the deepest available love is showing up in those moments when you don't have anything more to give, and you just move into a place of compassion for yourself, having that experience, being really exhausted, and you can even say in the moment, man, I am really out of it, I'm wiped out, but I can choose to be loving. I can choose to be loving here. I can choose to be, it doesn't have to be perfect. I can look a hot mess in this moment and I don't care. Do you know what I mean? And it's a great example of, your child is crying, it's an infant, its diaper is wet at 3 a.m. in the morning and you haven't slept for 3 days. Like
Yes.
that's a reality for a mother, really. And you can't ignore that baby's cry. You can't. You need to tend to it, you
Yes.
know? And I'm gonna use this metaphor, like that baby crying, that infant crying later in life when you're an adult and you're more in a regulated place and you have a different set of circumstances going on, that sometimes reality of that little infant can become your inner child now seeking love from you through a circumstance that's unfolding that's like chaotic in your life or crisis mode, and do you push it down and ignore it, or do you say, I'm right here with you? I'm right here with you. I'm going to choose to be in my loving, even if I'm not showing up at my best capacity. I'm going to choose to be loving towards myself and you.
Talk about what is choosing loving. Talk about loving action, please.
Loving action, yeah, I love that. So loving action, it's really beautiful. The first two principles of spiritual psychology are see the loving essence in another. If you can learn to attune to your inner counselor while your eyes are meeting another pair of eyes and attune to the love that is inside of them and yourself, you create a magnetic field of loving together through your eyes, through your heart, through your breath, and you learn to attune to them and listen. The next principle is listen with the ear of loving, hear with the ear of your heart. So, regardless of their thoughts, behaviors, feelings, egoic patterning, their ego, you learn to attune deeper to the loving that they are. Because the truth is there's no separation between us. We are all sharing in God's love, loving vibration. There's no separation. It's molecules, it's particles. This little nail clipper, this pen, the table that my computer is on, my computer, Trish's environment, Trish's beautiful eyes and face, like my skin, my husband that's in the other room, our dog under the couch. All of this is love. There is no separation. And it's an illusion to believe that we are separate from one another. And so that's what carries out the ego having struggle with another ego, is because we're not actually attuning to the loving that we all share within. And that is where you reach a higher level of awareness and can relax into yourself, knowing that, God is the way, has us, holds us, every part of it. Our curriculum is given to us and we choose it coming into the earth school. And, just simultaneously, as it's so challenging at times, we also are given the solutions and the insights that come along to move through it and heal it. And it's all a perfect divine mystery and puzzle. And it's beautiful. And so it's really about allowing yourself to choose love in every moment, even when makes no sense, you know? Like it's like sometimes we have to choose radical honesty and radical, like, oh, I could act out of anger right now. Yes, I'm really angry, but I'm not going to actually choose that towards that person. I'm going to move away. I'm going to process my feelings. I'm going to say, hey, I can't have a conversation right now. I'm too angry. I love you. I want to have a conversation when I can. You
Mhm.
know, that's so powerful. That is really owning your experience and not placing it outside of yourself, and I can really speak to an experience I had, recently that was so challenging for me. I joined, another work opportunity, and it was so beautiful, the invitation in, that it was so honoring, that I was like, of course, and then when I got into the heart and the meat and potatoes of really showing up as my authentic self, there was an aspect that was unfolding that I wasn't accepted in my just my true authentic way of work and coaching and being. And like I've had massive skills that have been cultivated over the years, through graduate school, and still serving in that program now, 7 years deep into this service
Mm.
field skill. And there was a lot of imposed way of like it needing to be their way, and there wasn't really an acceptance of what I brought to the table. And it's interesting because then it really triggered this very core wound that happened for me very young, at 7 years old. That was really I know it's a piece of core curriculum that I came in with in this lifetime to work through. And it showed up as the face of my father being really, really abusive and, like, basically beating me. But in a nutshell, it's rubbed up against that core wound, having to do with timing and pressure, and doing it right, doing it their way, and like being told I was wrong over and over, repeatedly, over and over and over again. And I was so proud of myself. I did not cry. I did not get triggered. I saw myself inwardly, yes, being rubbed up against that, but it was like I was neutral. And I was even able to say, hey, I want to stop you here. And can we just set this whole experience aside for a moment? And want to let you know my brain is in shut off mode. I cannot articulate. I can't move forward. I won't be able to creatively problem solve and creatively wordsmith and put words together now because of what has just taken place.
Yes.
And I was able to clearly articulate, which tells me I've healed immensely.
Yes.
And just because a situation from a way young, that was my 6-year-old. Just because that surfaces doesn't mean you haven't grown or learned through it. It means God is giving you a checkpoint, like, look how far you've come. And then I got to examine that whole relationship and step further back inside of myself and check in and go, is this really what I want? Do I want to be in a container where I'm spoken to poorly, where there's disrespect, where there's a sense of a hierarchical, like you're lower than me, or you're not valued? There was that feeling tone going on, and even in the way, the quality or tone of how I was spoken to was kind of not respectful. And I like really saw it as the face of, I felt disregarded, and I really sat with that. And then simultaneously, I had another experience come my way with a whole nother set of situations that I was moving into that also showed me the same face of disrespect. They simultaneously were like arriving at the same time. And this is all through the crazy, chaotic eclipse season.
Yes.
And I just want to say how freaking profound and powerful this was. So instead of moving forward and chasing this thing of like, oh no, it's crumbling and what do I in panic? Like I've been working so hard for all of that narrative could have gone on, but I leaned back in and I sat with this feeling of disrespect. And I was like, what is this? Disregard, disrespect. And I just sat with and I said, God, show me. Show me. I'm really ready. Reveal it all, please. And I just was in deep, deep prayer around it. And then the blessing as I got to go through a whole practicum and like basically a long week-long experience in with my teachers. And it was so revelatory for my soul. Immediately I got to see where this deep self-abandonment pattern began for me around chasing money. And it had to do with shown by my parent. Guess what? Shown by my mom. Love you, mom. And I know she never meant to show me this. I know she never intended to like, I'm going to show my daughter how to self-abandon. Never. That was never in her consciousness. But it was a thing of survival for her at that time in her life. She had to get up out of the house and go be in this environment for her self-worth, for her valuing herself, for her to make a change, to change our paradigm of being abused. And so I get it loud and clear. But at the time, I was left alone to have that experience. And my young one adopted the belief that that's okay to do, to get up out of your reality and abandon your family to go chase money. And so what was I doing? I was choosing to work in someone else's environment. I was choosing to drop my business and put it on the back burner to go into a whole new field. I mean, I trained in a whole new reality to maybe start a whole new thing as something as an exploratory process as an entrepreneur. I was like, yeah, we could do this. Let's do it. But God was like, nope. I'm going to give you the face of rejection. I'm going to give you the face of disregard right here, like slam door, closed, just to make it you aware. And I leaned into that and was like, what is this? Like, whoa. And I just sat with it and I grieved the 7-year-old that had that emotional neglect. And I was with the shame of emotional neglect. And I cried and I wrote and I sobbed and I just was like, I can't move forward. I am going to be with this. And I don't know what my life will look like moving forward, but I'm going to be with this. And then I immediately, what came forward was, okay, God, what do you have of me? How can I be of service? What do you want? And I heard loud and clear, get back to your business. And immediately, as soon as I made a self-honoring choice to move in that inner direction, inwardly, I cut the cords with every person and energy and sent them love, bless their path, bless their businesses, bless them, bless them, bless them. Thank you, Spirit. Because at the end of the day, it's all a relationship with God. And I pulled it all back and I just was in my heart and said gratitude for my practice, for my business, for my clients. I said, okay, God, if this is what you want, open the way. And within a week, I didn't even have to try. I got 4 new clients. Boom, 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 boom. Like, and it was so alignment, so aligned. And this is what the blessing of being with and making self-honoring choices in challenging times does for you. It opens a whole new portal and gateway of blessings on the other side of it. But you have to go through the challenge and honor your part, honor your process, honor the feelings that are coming forward, honor the other person's experience, honor it all. And in that, it was just such great alignment back to like, what is my purpose, what I'm here to do, what I'm here to teach, what I'm here to share. And my bit practice is expanded into couples. So now I'm coaching couples again. It's like, it's exciting. because I had been just focused on women, and it's just a whole new portal of expansion going on in our life, in my marriage, and in our life, and it's so exciting. And that's the blessing you're getting to hear from the difficult curriculum that was surfacing. I mean, and I radically moved my whole entire life, like moved my home, moved everything to go be involved in these 2 other businesses, and that it was just like, nope, nope. I was like, wow. Such
Because you made self-honoring choices.
such completion though. Completion of old curriculum between my husband and I. There were so many pieces revealed. So many pieces.
I'm so proud of you both for trusting too. One of the most powerful things that Dawn said to me, she says powerful things to me all the time. It's like amazing to have a best friend group that are like wildly powerful women. Like, I don't even know.
Thank
I
you.
like literally, I feel so blessed. But you said something to me recently, and I'm wondering if you're willing to talk about. I'm not willing to regret trusting or something like that.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, it was very dysregulating. Like my husband and I 110% jumped all in on this business opportunity that was presented to us for 2 new businesses. And we were like, yeah, we're entrepreneurs. Let's do this. We were, and I had to do this in very intense training, radically out of my field, but I was like, okay, yes, God is presenting this. Yes, I got the dream that was like, it's a go ahead, go do it, and I put it in my bedtime intention. I got a really clear dream. And come to find out, and I understand why now, but I'm going to stay with what you asked. So, it was very dysregulating for our whole reality. We moved away from where we were living, like 30 minutes north, which was dysregulating. We moved to a place we didn't know anybody. And we did this to make a move to strategize to be involved in these 2 new businesses. And then come to find out, um, the person kept making agreement changes, and it just was dissolving before our eyes. And I just sat with it and was like, I cannot move forward with a person that doesn't have integrity. I can't do it. I cannot. I have to honor this. And then I was like, wow, what are we going to do? We just moved our whole reality. And then I just said, you know what? I am not going to regret trusting. That is not an option here. And that is such a radical shift in reality. Coming from a person that had a boatload of curriculum around trust in my childhood, my distrust was the first place I always learned to go to, and I didn't do that. And I just sat down next to my husband. He was about to play the piano, and I looked at him and I said, I want to tell you something. Do not regret trusting. Do not regret jumping all in on this experience and giving it a try, because everything in life is a risk. God presents opportunities and we go for it. And just because things don't work out doesn't mean we didn't do our part or we didn't show up authentically. We gave it our all. We showed up 110%. We rearranged our whole reality to do this. We showed up for ourselves and the other person. But there's another party involved. And just because they weren't showing up at their best capacity, now we have a choice point. And I'm not going to regret trusting, because I know with my heart I was trusting God. And that is everything. I said, do not have an ounce of regret, because this is a blessing and we don't know yet what the blessing will be, but we will find out. And this is our choice point now. Now we're at a choice. Do we choose to work with someone that is showing us major red flags? No, we don't. We move away, because that's self-honor. And move away and we say, you know what? Just because this is the way it is, I send you love and blessings. It work out for you, but I feel integrity here with myself, and I have to choose moving back towards my husband and moving together. And then the real truth is revealed. Wow, we have an opportunity to work together for the first time in a long time. And that's what God really wanted. And it needed the carrot of the 2 businesses to kind of get us to go that direction, for my husband to let go of his 5-year career. And, now we're going to work together and create beautiful things. More to come, more to be revealed there. And, yeah, and it just up leveled my whole experience with trust again on a whole nother level. And I felt deep renewal move into my life, and a sense of happiness and a sense of like gratitude for the experience, a sense of gratitude for my trust in moving here. And then it was presented, oh, we moved here for our son. We moved here for him to go to the school that's close to here that we just got him enrolled in. And I was like, wow, spirit, thank you. Yes, it did not look at all what we thought it was going to be. And we're really able to see the silver lining and the blessings here, and we're really able to lean into our part and choose ourself fully and choose what feels in alignment with spirit, and not make the other parties wrong or bad for what transpired. It's okay that that stuff happened. I wasn't meant to go that path. Oh, you're on mute here.
And just see, no, there's multiple people here. Just so Dawn used a couple of words around the self-honoring choices, but integrity. And one of the things about being in conflict is that we've really got to look at what our values are, what our wants, needs are, and be really honest about our own agenda, right? And I'm all like, do I want to share? That we have to be honest about our own agenda and what's going on. So like here's an example about looking at our values. Now, we've talked a lot about the self-empathy tool in the past. Reach out if you want to get more information about that. But this will also really help you understand what drives you. What's your driving motivations, your values, your needs that drive you. And when you can look at those things and you can actually tell someone like, hey, I'm looking for this connection or safety or freedom or self-expression or whatever it is, that's where you get to start really looking at who you are and what makes you up. Now, living in integrity to me, and I, if it doesn't live like this for you, Dawn, let me know. But for me, living in integrity is my thoughts and my beliefs are in alignment with my feelings and how I move through the world. Now, I also think that this is a spiritual connection, right? Is that now I am like, like I get out of integrity as all the time because I do something out of old habit, or I say something that hurts someone unintentionally, and then I come back into integrity by certain practices. Now, I don't want to get too far off the beaten path here. Now, if you're living in integrity, right? So let's say I have a new partner who's really lovely, and I want him to be free. I want him to like just be himself. I also want to be myself. This is a new thing that I'm trying out in a relationship. Who knew? I will be himself.
Yes.
And so that means that I have to lean back into my own safety and security all the time. And whatever he wants to explore. Now, we're starting to get into the depth of our relationship where we're starting to find some conflict. And it's about hearing the conflict or seeing it, having the moment, emoting, having the feelings, right? And then getting curious about what is actually happening. Because what's happening in my brain is, I don't know, maybe 80% real until I actually say, hey, what is actually going on this side? And then I get to actually choose what are the wants, needs, and values that are up for me right now. Oh, I want safety. And we're having this moment, and I can share that so that so I can make self-honoring choices. Like, hey, I want donuts today. And he's like, oh, God, I can't eat another donut in my whole life. And I'm like, but I really want donuts. I'm using just a random wild example. This is not what happened. But for the sake of like lightening it up, it's like, I really want donuts. I can't eat another donut my whole life. And I'm like, oh, but I'm going to eat donuts sometime. And I want to eat donuts with someone because the connection around this donut thing is important to me. And I'm like, oh, right. Now I could really like fight my needs to get met, or we can find a way to negotiate the situation, right? And that is the living in integrity, because now I'm sharing about what is my need and my value. And I'm really choosing to be like, okay, well, I need donuts. Love, I need donuts in my life. Would you mind having coffee with me at this donut place? And you can eat, whatever you want. But I really want to be like seen in the joy of my donut eating. Right. I know this is a really wild example. Some of these are really bad. Some of them are really good, but some of them are really bad. This is a bad one. I get it.
But well, like for me, the example I just shared, I had a really strong need to be honored in my communication style. Like
Yes.
I have compassionate communication style, and I'm not going to be derailed off of that to try to adopt another harsher mode of being to just be in a work environment. I'm going to coach and emote and be myself, because this is who I am.
Exactly. And so that's the thing.
I needed that value to be in place to be able to move forward. I needed that value of honoring of, yes, we're aligned in compassionate communication.
Exactly.
And I realized, I recognized once I had multiple conversations about what was going on, and then we had gotten back into like, oh, okay, now we can move forward. But then immediately the banter would come back of disrespect, of like, in the emails and in the, like, it was just like complete, like, we just had a conversation about this. Why is that tone still present? And I realized, I had a deep realization come over me of like, this won't change. So I get a choice. I get to choose. I choose what I value and what I honor. And if compassionate, loving communication can't be in the relationship, even if it's a work dynamic, it's okay. But I choose myself, and I choose to move away, because I'm not going to be putting myself in the situation where I'll be disrespected. I'm not okay with it.
Exactly. Standing up for yourself is also self-honoring choice.
Mm-hmm.
It can also sound like, I also had another a frictiony moment where I just, I just do crazy things. And this person, my new beloved, is like, the tone started to get kind of shamey, or what felt like shame to me. I don't think he was actually shaming me. It felt shamey to me in like previous past experiences. And I was like, I'm not appreciating the way that this conversation is going, and the tonality of it feels really shaming to me. I invite you to make requests of me, and I can try to show up in those places and we can negotiate. But this conversation is going to have to stop in the way that it's going. And he was like, oh, okay, perfect. And then I came back later and was like, hey, I know that tone was really like specific and direct and kind of curt and firm. How did that work for you? And he was like, that was perfect for me. Thank you for being direct. Now, do you see how it was like, I'm unwilling to participate in things that harm me? I'm also unwilling to participate in things that harm him. I'm also unwilling to participate in the disrespect, like Dawn said. So now you have two examples, both from Dawn and from me, of way to communicate effectively. A self-honoring boundary, even, mm-hmm. and a negotiation of reality around the boundaries that one can create. Like, I hope that those of you who are listening and watching right now are starting to see, like, this is in real time. And I know that, I mean, we started with
self-acceptance.
Yeah, self-acceptance. So to know your boundaries and to know what self-honoring choices and where you're going, you have to have some self-acceptance, right? And so I know, like Dawn, you kind of, I mean, we don't know where we're going, but we kind of know where we're going. We know what is aligned for us, like things that delight us. And we know that there's like sort of path, or here, I'll go this way, this sort of pathway. I know I'm not going to go here, and I know I'm not really going here, but I know this is in the place of I. Like when I say I want to just show you like I right here, the I that lives here, that I can feel here, the embodied energetic movement where it feels safe in my belly and open and freeing and expansive. And I can breathe and my chest feels aligned with all of this. Like that's the area that I'm going in, right? So if I know that I'm going there and I know that I'm unwilling to cause harm as much as I possibly can, I'm unwilling to take abuse or violence or participate in someone else's trauma, or, you know, like I know that I have these things that I'm unwilling to do or receive, that I can communicate those things and set boundaries. That's my proximity to the other person, and remove myself if I need to. And I love, Dawn, that you were like, I don't, this is not what I'm tolerating in my life. And to upgrade, to raise your level, your standards, to raise your standards, you have to literally, you get to literally choose the behavior you're willing to accept. But you also have to be able to treat yourself in that way as well.
And the most amazing thing is I was able to really clearly communicate like when it happened, what wasn't working for me, how I felt, all the parts. I was able to articulate. It was amazing. And I'm not in the business to make the other person wrong. It's not about wrongdoing or right doing. It's just at the end of the day, there was a misalignment going on, and God did not want me to participate in that. I was moving away from the reality is underneath of it all is spirit is wanting my husband and I to build a practice together and to build together, and that's really what is going on behind the scenes. But we had to go through all this movement of stuff to get there, and that's why all of that was presented in that way. That's why that experience unfolded and why it rubbed against a core wound place that's really transformed. And I can see myself in that trend. Not doesn't mean that the memory will ever go away. I erratically still have the memory of everything that transpired when I was that age, but I'm not operating from that place anymore. And I was able to clearly, I mean, when I was a child, my brain would shut off and I wouldn't be, there was no there was nothing. And I would just be in complete frozen mode. And the fact that I was able to clearly articulate in the moment was a very exact, distinct, clear checkpoint of like a marker of how much I've grown. Like, whoa, I have grown so much. And I was able to be in my neutral observer of the experience when it was happening. But at the end of the day, I really pondered it and I was like, wow, that is really bizarre that happened. And what is this about? And at the end of the day, I started examining all the parts, and like there was a feeling of being underpaid and not really appreciated. There was a feeling of disrespect. There was a feeling of hierarchical. Well, I'm more advanced, I should say, or from that person. And yeah, it just didn't feel as at the end of the day, I don't feel like I was really valued for what I really bring to the table, and that's okay. We all learn and grow through these experiences, and there was a major growth edge for that person as well. And I'm just so thankful for the experience because I got to see my growth and I got to choose my growth and I got to say, it's actually not a fit for me to be here anymore because it's just not feeling good to me. And I need to be in a place where I can thrive and feel really good and
Yes.
have clear communication and not feel like I have to change who I am to be. It wasn't working. I could feel I'm not going to move away from my authentic self of who I am and how I work in the world. And it's just, I'm going to show up as me, and I'm going to do my best in that place. And I need to be in alignment with that at all times. And so that, at the end of the day, that's what it came down to, is I want to be in congruence with my authentic self and be able to shine in that. And it's happening. It's just like Spirit was like, get back to what you were doing. It's meant to be. This is what you're meant to be doing. And yeah, it's flowing so gracefully.
When we stop believing that love and collaboration is manipulation, violence, degradation, and power struggle, we get congruence. Purely. Like these social kind of socializations or conditioning that teach us that we're supposed to tolerate abuse from people that we work with or people that we love is just wild. It's just wild to me. So I loved it. Again, I mean, I don't know if anyone told you today, y'all, but you can be loved for just being yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can be loved for just being yourself. Be respected. You can be seen. You can be valued. And if you're not valued, go to where you are valued. One of the things that happened, it's like someone in my life has a really, really poor image of me, and they think that I'm kind of like a really trashy person. And it occurred to me like, oh man, I can't show up in that person's life. Like, why would I, as a person who would love themselves, show up in that way with them? Like, I show up there. What does that say about me if I keep asking for their validation? And then B, why would I keep hurting them to show up in their life? And C, to really make a self-honoring choice here, what is the most loving action that we can take? Now, we're wrapping up the show, and I know that. And I just want to say, like, hey, you choose the places that value you. Choose the places that see you and see you in your best, reward you in your best, and also love you and are kind to you in your most deep moments, who are willing to work with you, who are willing to stay present, consistent, and kind when you're messing it up, or when you need a little support, when you're freaking scared. Like, you get to make self-honoring choices that level your life up. And I know that some of these choices are really complicated. I know that leaving an abusive partner is incredibly complicated. I know that choosing a nap and some way to take care of yourself when you have children and their needs always come first, I know that's difficult. And I know that making emotional shifts and changes, even that 5%, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back into the earlier part of the show. Like, these are all, I know that they can be challenging. I know that it can be just difficult to even fathom those things. And to just take the first step of, I'm here with me now. I'm not going to abandon myself. That I get to make a self-honoring choice to be in integrity, to be congruent with myself and others. Like, that's where we get to be. We get to choose that as a self-honoring choice. And put yourself around people who are going to remind you, girl, are you self-abandoning again? You're right. Are you doing that thing in relationships? I've seen you do it before you're going to do it. Oh, you're right. You're right. Let's try not to do that. What do you think I should do? Like, there's ways that you can create a container of people and community that work with you. Mm-hmm. And look at how, I mean, you've heard stories about how Dawn's life has changed, and you've heard stories about how my life has changed, all through choosing self-honoring choices, especially in conflict.
Mm-hmm.
To not take any baloney.
If you're struggling with any of this, like any self-honoring choice point, or don't know how to make them, or, you know, things are really kind of rocky and bumpy and you're needing some support, like reach out to both of us. We're happy to assist you. We're happy to clarify things. We're happy to point you in the right direction if it's not us. And the most important thing is reach out. Reach out, get support. Everything changes when you have another person in your world to just say, hey, what about right here? And reflect on different pieces and get you to connect the dots. Like that's the thing. I can speak for myself. I'm so skilled at is I help you connect the dots to like where it began and what was happening and what parts of each parent did you adopt to make this coping strategy come about. And that's the expertise I hold, and I'm really good. It's pretty masterful, the things that come through, and mind-blowing. Honestly, had some serious mind-blowing moments with some of my clients of like, I never saw it that way. And then it all unravels after they have that aha, and things change in their life, like big shifts. And so if you're wanting that, Trish is an expert at it too. Like, we just want to encourage you, get support, reach out, go for the gold in your life and make those self-honoring choices, because that's what changes your life.
It's choosing you. Can I just ask you a question just before we go? How much time and money have you literally invested in yourself to choose you? Roughly. $100,000?
Are you asking me or the audience?
Yes. I'm asking both of you. I mean, they're answering their question.
Yeah. Me, I'm way over $100,000. I'm above 200, like more.
So
like it's ridiculous how much I've spent on programs and school and workshops. I stopped calculating it so much.
see, that's the thing. It's like where all of my money goes is to bettering myself to teach and host and to make myself a better person, to create myself in the eyes of how I see me.
Mm-hmm.
Same with you. I mean, $10,000 programs on like little incremental payments just to be with, to see something about myself that I couldn't see before. And I know that not everyone has these opportunities, right? And that I hope that some of you who don't have the opportunities to spend that kind of money, that you have opportunities to get therapy through like Medi-Cal or through your insurance. Like that is also a good place to get this. Even if you're not coaching with us, get assistance in taking yourself to the next level that you want to go.
And honestly, it'll just keep opening the door to greater and greater level. And if you want that high level coach, like hold it as a goal. Hold it as a, hey, if it's not right now, it will be. And God, show me the way to make it happen.
Yes.
And read mindset books, read prosperity books, start making self-honoring choices to move in the direction of building that, what you desire. It's anything is possible. Anything that you desire, your heart wants, is possible. You just have to believe.
And if you can't read, there's podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of things. I just want to say thank you, Dawn, for such a sweet conversation today. And thank everyone here for showing up and listening and sharing, liking, subscribing, and giving, the show a rating on Spotify and Apple Podcast and all of those things.
Thank you. We appreciate it. And I just want to say thank you to Miss Trish here, because like she is a backbone in my life, and you're a backbone in my life, and honestly, bedrock foundation of just unconditional love. And truly, thank you for being my sister, my friend, doing the show together. So proud of her for graduating and going on to her degree, and just so excited for you, and just so beyond grateful for you.
So great for you. Foundational. And you know what I love about Dawn? She calls me on my BS all the time. Girl, what are you doing? I'm like, oh yeah, what am I doing?
Ditto.
And I just want to also thank our audience for showing up and being consistent and really like choosing themselves to grow and evolve. Thank you to Roy and Russell for making Self-Love Show happen. And thanks to Jeffrey and David and Michael and Hugs for Humanity and John and Summer Raymer for sharing us out, and Scott Thomas and Love Coach Academy and Global Peace Tribe for being pillars of our life and our love and just helping us share all of this out. And we will see you same time next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye.